Kind of want to show off what I got. Ow, I think I need to deburr these edges, but just roughly I just want to play with it. Let me set y'all up on this tripod, kind of see what I got going on. Let me adjust y'all a little. Alright, basically, which I kind of like the gap that goes around the steering column. Several ways. If it sits all the way down, it's going to create a little gap. I was actually afraid it was going to be too long. I can set it right there. I think I like it sitting in. I don't know. I think what I'm going to do is like what I originally thought, mount some kind of bracket. Maybe an aluminum bracket or something. I think it's going to sit kind of like that. I don't know if you can kind of get to see around me. But this piece will be polished. I'll have my volt gauge here. I'll have multiple flip switches. So at least I got started on the dash. A little bit of fine tuning and this piece should start looking nice. Well, after getting the plate cut, getting the space set up for the steering column so it can slide over, took a file and went and filed all the edges so it's all deburred smooth. I can run my finger across it without snagging on any shards. So I just can't really give up. I want to go ahead and make the hole for the volt gauge so I can always monitor the battery. I want to put it in here, and since I know everything is technically, let me see, right now this is the back side. If I took and flipped it over, this should still be the left side and this is the right. So what I'm thinking is, for maximum of use of, so I can get other switches and stuff, I'm thinking like right here. Thinking about go ahead and mounting the gauge right there, so it leaves me room on the other side for something to mount it. So I think this is where it's going to end up going. So here goes nothing. This is going to end up being tonight's recap. Ended up getting home from work. Didn't really feel like filming, but it wasn't really tedious stuff. You see the nice shiny aluminum. I went ahead and buffed this out kind of the same way I did the other one, and I'm pretty well pleased. I could probably, if I kept on going, I could probably get it like a mirror shine. But I kind of want a little bit of the dinginess, kind of adds to it. You see I went ahead and drilled up the 5 holes. We got the 4 flip switches and the push and pull switch. I think that's, I'm going to reuse that for my lights. It's the same switch came off the racing mower for its lights, and it originally came on VW fiberglass shell for like a dune buggy. It's where I originally acquired it. Now it's gone to 2 different projects, and I swiped the Sun Pro volt gauge also as well from the racing mower. Oop. And there's the dingy piece that I cut it off of, and you can see that dingy one up front, the little bit of the basically the same kind of shine on that little piece of aluminum which is going on the body. Still have a little bit more of that. I can do whatever, so I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to do it, or what I'm going to use it for, should I say. Only thing that switch panel right now, or my little dash, is missing is the key, and that's going to be the next step. So I want to go ahead and get started, if nothing else, get the wiring done for the key. Maybe I could tap in also and go ahead and do the volt gauge just temporarily, but still got to make some mounts for it. But that's basically how it's going to look. Ah, hell, that's good. Kind of looks neat to me. Everything will be up front, so I'll have the basic gauge I need, which would know the volt gauge, so I can know what the battery's doing, because this motor unfortunately doesn't have a charging circuit in it, but I'll figure that up as I go. So far, hey, I can't complain. I'm very well happy the way it turned out. Just got to make the mounting brackets. I think it looks kind of nifty in there. I guess it is going to be the hot rod golf cart, or if nothing else, it looks like something more customized and homemade than what you're going to buy, which I think is going to look cool as long as I can keep up with that. But I definitely amazed myself on that one. I can't believe how nice it came out. I got 5 switches total to access, plus a 6th, which is underneath that cup holder. It's a push and pull. It's a momentary push switch. So what I'm thinking is that down there will be the horn, which, yes, I said horn. If you're going to go out and play on the public roads, at least have some safety. So what I'll do is I have an old air horn set up. I say old, but it's brand new old. I've had it forever. Never used it for nothing, so I think it's going on this. And while I'm on the subject of wiring, thinking about it, took the little red wire that was off that solenoid that came off of here. It was been there for the last 3 years. I think I've owned this cart. I decided to just hit it up with some black paint, not thoroughly, but just basically what I want to do. So when I run it from the engine block to the frame, that I'll always know this is going to be a ground. So we'll be able to, I'll definitely have the one going, probably we're going to go from this lower mount to the chassis, so that will give me a ground for the chassis. And what I'll do is probably come off where that ground clamp is at right now, over to the battery, so that way the motor itself will be fully grounded out. The motor will be grounded, the chassis will be grounded, so that will make it easier for some of the stuff that I do need run grounds for. I can run like a little ground bar in there, but only one wire from it to the chassis, which will be, I think it'll be better than having to run a whole separate ground wire from the battery up forward. But that's still to be figured out. I guess tomorrow, maybe tomorrow night, we'll start doing the wiring. Like I said, nothing else right now. We're at least going to run the same wiring back here. Just going to cut and extend it. So that way we'll have a flip switch right on the dash. Maybe start, probably we're going to start, go ahead also when we're doing this, we'll go ahead and make up some mounts so that way that can sit nice and neat until I need to remove it later. Alright, I really want to show off something. So I've been out here for about an hour or two, just goofing around, really just taking my time with the wiring, and I've got it all done. But it's not just the wiring I want to show you. Yesterday I didn't do no filming. Had a deal to go work out, and I'm about to show you what it is. Got a new little toy for the shop to make some of this stuff easier for me to work on. And yeah, you kind of notice a set of foot pedals. Without further ado, let me kind of show you the new toy. I love my new little toy. Got to do a little bit of, I'm going to definitely do a little restoration on this. It's got some issues like the foot pedal for up. Unlike the reverse, it's free. This one sticks a little, so definitely if you hit it, tap it in the corner. See, it's got an issue with the wiring too, so I'm still, I want to rewire this whole thing. But basically what I ended up getting for $135 was a whole hydraulic lift table. It works. It definitely goes up and down. You can kind of see the little scissor mechanism. It's got an electric pump, or it's got an electric motor with a hydraulic pump. It's got a dump valve and an 8-inch cylinder under there. It's 2,000 pound capacity. I love this little toy. It definitely does what I wanted to do. Alright, let me get this thing up in the air, and I'll show you some of the stuff that I've done today. Well, here's the whole height. With the cart up in the air, I'm going to be able to do the golf cart. I'll be able to do ATVs, go-karts. So anything I need to put, where I can put it up in the air and work on it easier. I didn't have it this height. I had it a lot lower, but I kind of want to show this off, and I'm going to do a future video on this. I'm not sure the exact brand name, but I ended up getting this whole lift for 135 bucks. Need some TLC. Definitely need some of that. You can see the motor with the hydraulic mechanism and everything. So I just unplugged it, and what I want to do is I'm going to actually go in and rewire this whole thing. I'm going to take it apart, clean it, and make it look a little bit better, clean it all up. I mean, it's 135 bucks. I've wasted more money on other crap than this, so a little TLC ain't going to hurt. But let me go ahead, plug her back in. She's been a help This keeps from my back, which is already strained from putting this motor back on here. Now I wish I had this, but oh, let's not be plugged in all the way. Bring it down with a foot pedal. Now, this is about the height I had it, maybe just a hair lower. Made it a lot easier to do the wiring. So I have the 4 wires going to the various spots. I have the engine grounded to the chassis. The engine also will be grounded to the battery. Got the key wired up. Still got to do zip ties and other things. Haven't hooked up none of the switches or power to any of them. And while I was looking around, I found this old, this came from a Doom Buggy wiring kit. It's the European style fuses, but it is a fuse box. And what I'm thinking, maybe mounting it right there, so that way I can have quick access to the fuses, so we can fuse everything. Slowly, little by little, I'm knocking out various things that need to be done on this. The next thing I'm going to do is cut me a piece of wood to fit over there. It'll be the same little area as this. Set down a little piece of wood in there, like a little, I think I got chipboard or plywood or just something temporarily, so the battery can sit. We'll go ahead and wire that up. And what I have on the bench is a 12-volt battery. So another one. This is a car battery. This came out of the Super Beetle project. Found it in the car. It was hooked up in the car, and the date on it is 11-2. So this thing is from November of 2002. Sounds about right to me because that car sat forever. So I put this thing on a trickle charger and took, what was it at, 14 something, 13 and a half, 14 volts. So it is taking a charge. I just have to give it a load test. So I might actually put that in the cart as well. Won't hurt to have a little extra power. Little extra power will definitely help out to run lights and whatever. So we'll figure out. Maybe I'll keep that one only for the engine, not mess with that, and put a battery here with a trickle charger I can plug in at night. So that's what the progress is so far. The dash is complete. So far I got the key wired up, the motor's wired up, and the last thing I'm waiting on, I don't know. Well, say I don't know, but there's so much little stuff, and I'll move quick through a project. I'll try to assemble all I can assemble, then go back and do all the tedious stuff, or try to do it as I go along. It depends what mood I'm in. So that's it for right now. Until the next clip, guys. Getting some more time on this project. I've gotten some stuff completed I haven't showed y'all guys. I've kind of been in a rush. Kind of hate that, not grabbing my camera, but I probably already pointed out in the other clip. I've got all the wiring done, so my key is fully operational up front. The battery, yes, you see 2 red wires, but I reused what I had as of like I did on most of this whole project. Just cut the wire, pull the sheathing back, and threw some crimp ends on there. I am going to identify the black line with some black electrical tape. Excuse me, guys. But I do plan on having some kind of circuit breaker switch, some kind of cutoff, so that way I can kill the power completely to the motor and to the switches and all. Right up probably on the front side of the cart, it'll have some kind of master disconnect. I like to have more safeties than needed because you never know what can happen. But besides that, you notice the dash is not falling in. Let me see if I can get this out of here to show you. Put little blocks of wood. Just ran some self-tapping screws right there. The one thing I am going to have to do, which I didn't forecast this, if you kind of notice, the dash is going to sit all the way up, but it's got a little gap. It needs to come over to this side a little bit, and what's stopping it is, it's going to be kind of hard to show you guys, but if you can see down in there, let me pull this out of the way. If you notice, there's on this rusty looking switch, it works. The little spades, little bits that are coming off of it, they're hitting the wood. So what I'm going to do to resolve this issue is I'm going to take the push and pull switch, will be for the lights, and move it here and move this switch down. I think that would be a good idea. That way the whole panel can slide over Let's see what else. Not really super much. I did get the chain put on. The tensioner setup that I was using before isn't going to work with just tensioning this. So what I'm going to do is probably set this to a certain height once it's off the lift table, and I'll set this to a certain height and lock it in. And what I'm going to do is reuse this idler sprocket. This was part of the setup also off the racing mower. What I'm going to do is build some kind of contraption and tension it. Maybe this would be a lever style with maybe a spring or some sorts, so that way it'll constantly keep tension on that. So that's one little project I got to do. I went ahead and buttoned up the brakes. The cables are all hooked up. Just have to give it a small scale test to see where they need to be as far as adjustment. Exhaust is done. Motor's bolted in. But as I've been plugging away at this, I'm thinking it's time to change up the gas pedal. And if any of y'all have ever went back and watched my videos on rebuilding this thing didn't come with the original throttle pedal. It came with some little assembly, but it was missing the pedal. The pedal for the throttle actually has a click stopper, so you can lock the parking brake. So I can't lock my parking brake, but it does work. So I actually made the whole assembly, and I don't have any clips because unfortunately I've deleted those clips, but I do have the video of the golf cart project. It's in my playlist. But anyway, that was my throttle pedal. Couldn't figure out at the time what I wanted to do, so I just had a round bar round tubing coming up, and right down here there's a hole drilled because the sheathing, I remember bolting something down that held the sheathing, and then the little wire cord came through this, comes through the backside, comes up and gets held in place by a little hose clamp. So again, since I'm reusing so much of everything on this project, trying to use up a lot of bits around the shop, everything from the donated aluminum diamond plate, this motor's off a different project, the battery, the chain, the exhaust, literally so much stuff, the idler pulley. So since the goal, steering wheel, I almost forgot steering wheel, I'm sorry guys. But since I'm reusing a lot and not really spending much to get this thing the way I really want it, I got looking at this. Buddy of mine, Jason, brought this over with a little tiny master cylinder. It goes to some little mini bike. I remember taking apart the, what do you call it? The little reservoir. I'm having a brain fart, guys. I apologize. But anyway, it was part of a brake setup, like I said, a hydraulic brake setup. And this pedal was attached to the master cylinder. I apologize. So I figured I kept this in my hoard, and I figured I'm going to use it. So looking at it, and if you hold where this piece down here is straight, kind of kicked in. So I'm thinking about straightening the pedal outward to the right, and maybe fixing it right there and having a real throttle pedal. I'm thinking about it. Why don't we get this cart cleaned off, and why don't we go ahead and cut this thing. We'll go ahead and cut this right there. I'm thinking right there, so that way I can come in and cut a slot and drop this in the slot. We'll have a gas pedal right down like this. That's what I'm thinking. Little gas pedal look better than round tubing, and it's sticking with the theme of reusing stuff, recycling it into a whole new project, create something cooler. So I had to grab my persuasion instrument tool out of the drawer. So now I'm trying to think how. I think this would be a good way. We'll mount it in here like so. And from what I'm seeing with this thing vertical, it not only comes back towards me, make sure I get y'all in the shot, it comes back towards me, but the pedal's twisted. So I figure, I want to get y'all off the bench so that way you don't vibrate to death. And I don't know, let's go. I think that's perfect. Now, I'm not sure, But even though this piece comes up, the whole thing has a twist inward. So I don't know, we just might just end up keeping it like that, because otherwise I'd have to heat this up, get it with maybe a set of channel locks or something, then try to twist it, and I don't know if I want to go that route. You could always paint the lower portion where the weld's at and leave this chrome, rusty chrome deal. So I think we just might end up doing that. Let's see. Looking at it, I think it'll be just fine. I mean, hell, most people, especially you're going to have your foot down, you're going to kind of twist it off to the side. So I think we'll leave that. Now, what I'm thinking is right here, you can kind of see the thickness of that. It's got like about an 1/8 inch bulge. I'm thinking clamp this up and grind that off.